Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. I'm the man that keeps it here cooking. Hey, please, if you like any of the content that I'm putting out here, man, please consider subscribing to the channel. Those likes and dislikes, I guess it's all very important. Engagement is a big part of things. Wow. Didn't get to see much of that football last night's first football game, but it looked very pedestrian. I don't think Rodgers played at all in the preseason, and it kind of resembles some of the college football games that I saw last Saturday, where teams get off to, you think of how close that first half was between. I thought it was closer than farther apart, but Alabama and Duke. It was kind of in the second half or the late second quarter when Alabama really started cooking, and started pulling away. So I think last night, and I think, teams don't want to play their guys on games that don't mean anything, especially, high value pieces like an Aaron Rodgers. So I saw Matt Millen, I think it was Matt Millen on Twitter that said, preseason is important and whatnot. But again, you can't be a coach or a GM or a team president and lose one of these valuable assets. These generational talents or all pro guys. You can't lose them in a preseason game. So I don't know why so much. Every year we got to debate what the preseason is and isn't. I mean, by and large, it's to it's to fill out those the last 10 or so spots, and then maybe establish your depth chart. But it's the games don't mean anything, and so shout out to my man, the real deal with Damian Adams, for taking a stab at cutting the preseason down to 2 games or something, and adding an extra. I thought that was part of that, what he was proposing, adding an extra wild card team. So shout out to that. Mark Sanchez just said that while he was in New York, this was on Get Up, while he was in New York, that Rex Ryan said, hey, the bus leaves at 2:30. The bus leaves at 2:30 unless your name is Darrell Revis. And speaking of Antonio Brown, I don't know what's up with these athletes with these AB initials, but that's like a scarlet letter or something with these cats. But AB has pushed this thing to possibly to a point of no return. And I don't know, you make your exceptions for your star players and and whatnot, but when you get to confronting the team GM, I mean, my goodness. So we'll see what happens there. I won't even go into that, but that's a hit to the Monday night game. If he, I mean, they're talking about suspending AB. They're scheduled to play the Denver Broncos on Monday night, and we'll see what happens. Quickly, some bite down boxing. Quick entertainment note. I should open with this. Anybody that really likes real R&B or traditional sounding R&B, man, I would strongly recommend checking out this Paul album, Paul, by PJ Morton. Very short album, and just some good R&B music, man. Not too many dance songs on there per se, but good riding music, good sitting at your desk music, well written, pretty good. Musically, I think he plays piano, PJ Morton, and some good songwriting or lyrics. So that's that. Getting on to some bite down boxing, man. Today is the last day of the last leg in London of the International Press Conference tour for the Andy Ruiz Jr. versus Anthony Joshua rematch, the clash in the dunes. Like I said, and I'm looking at this through the lens of listening to the Joe Rogan Experience with Andre Ward. I would suggest you go check that out. Andre gave a lot of game away. and said how he was listening to the words of Kovalev before their rematch, and the more and more things that Kovalev said, it really allowed him to understand Kovalev as a man and kind of unlock him mentally. And he knew what he had to do in the second fight, and he knew where he was, as a fighter, and it made the second fight, easier for him. Although Kovalev did have some success in some of those rounds. But looking at the Ruiz and Joshua situation, the less that he can say, the better. I heard there was some Eddie Hearn or Joshua got upset about being asked about Fury and Wilder, and he should shut all of that down. He should ignore all of that. But other than that, man, to sit there and really say a whole lot, and to keep revisiting the last fight and revisiting last training camp and revisiting, whatever may or may not have happened in the locker room before, going through all of that stuff does nothing for him. So it'll be interesting to see what he gives away, cause Ruiz is sitting there picking this stuff up, and Ruiz, they shared them 7 rounds together, I believe. They know each other quite well. And so, like I said, it'll be interesting to watch and see, how he manages the rest of these press conferences, which one is going on right now, I believe. I just got an alert for it. I'm not really going to get into my, got plenty of time to talk about the fight and break down the matchup and whatnot, but I think one thing that, for some of the channels out here that are it's easily detectable that they're biased, or they dislike Joshua, they dislike him on a personal level, and they're looking for what they want to see. They're looking for things to confirm what they already believe about him. But I think one thing that's being disregarded is the fact that he didn't seem to have the normal behavior of a fighter as his name was being announced at Madison Square Garden back in June. I've seen some other guys do that, and the fights didn't end well for them. But it seemed like he was in a weird space at that moment. But when the bell rang, the interesting thing is that when the bell rang, he pulled it together to go out there and put together the first 2 to 3 rounds where he knocked down a guy who had never been dropped before. And you could say what you want, who won those rounds. Maybe it was more even in the first round. But through the second and third, I thought Joshua kind of started cruising and set that fight up. I mean, set it up for the left hook, I believe, that knocked Ruiz down. And he dropped a guy that had never been dropped before. And then we know it went downhill from there, especially after he landed that 1-2 that really snapped back, that Ruiz miraculously walked right through. But, I just don't know how you disregard those first 3 rounds to focus on the next 4. But, so on and so forth. Going back to that Joe Rogan interview, sit down with Andre Ward. I saw some stuff on Twitter as I was finishing up my live stream last night on YouTube. And, Joe Rogan gets all this credit. I mean, he's a comedian. He's got tons of years now in experience on TV. He makes it look easy. It's even better when you have a schedule. When a guy is coming in, you can get your questions together. You can get your thoughts and all that organized. You have time. You don't have 20 other microphones there, and you got to go through whether or not I'm going to ask my real questions or, who's going to get their video up before I get mine up and my voice is going to be on somebody. That makes life better. But I think the thing is, man, for some reason, with many guys getting in, with boxing being what it is, and there not being the same barriers to covering other sports, some guys approach these fighters and they got an axe to grind. I want to embarrass this guy. I want to belittle this guy. I want to challenge him on something he said that was wrong, months ago or a year ago, or he picked the wrong fighter in this. I just don't and that's part of what Ward, everything that he shared in the interview, in the sit down. This was dope. Like I said, to sit here and not make any of the sacrifices, but get all the benefits of understanding the experiences and what goes on behind the scenes. What's better than that? So it was dope to me. But like I said, there's so many of us have taken the stance where I'm gonna embarrass this guy. I'm gonna show you how dumb he is. I'm gonna show you that he ain't what you think he is. Like I said, tons of us say idiotic stuff on these videos. If you speak too much, you will say, if you're doing this every day, 4 and 5 times a day, you will say some stuff that's illogical or nonsensical, or that you didn't really mean, or you really wasn't committed to it, but you threw it out there. You speaking with 4 or 5 people and you need a point that nobody said, so maybe you say something that just to be, just to stand out, you say something that you don't even really subscribe to. And nobody ever goes back and walks any of this stuff back. So again, like I said, man, in my opinion, it's not a good look that, some of this stuff, some of these relationships, these long-term relationships have been tarnished or negatively affected because I want to challenge you somehow, or show that I'm superior to you outside of the ring. It's silly stuff to me. But shout out to Joe Rogan, man. Getting some boxers on there and showing some of these guys in a different light. Maybe introducing them to some audiences that wouldn't be, that wouldn't be looking to hear who an Andre Ward is. An Olympian, an undefeated fighter, and a tough guy who didn't have world-class power, who wasn't the quickest guy. He didn't always have all of these advantages, but he had a good foundation and he had a good team. He was disciplined. He had a great understanding of things, and like I said, one of my favorite dudes out there. Hey, let me get on out of here, man. Have a great weekend. I think it's a lighter boxing weekend. So I'm going to enjoy some of this football, man. Most likely, you won't hear from me, I don't think, at all, unless it's something on some entertainment. I do have to go check out this week's Snowfall Pearson. I don't think I talk about Pearson, but, I got some entertainment stuff I might jump on. In terms of a live stream tomorrow with an interview with a guest, with a fighter, that's up in the air at this point. I guess people think, there's no value in that. So let me get on out of here, man. Have a great one.